Unethical testing practices. It is what? It is unethical to do the following. Let's take a look. It is unethical for teachers to tutor students on the specific subject matter of an expected examination. Such coaching destroys the standardized procedure of test administration, and it makes scores uninterpretable and a waste of student time, of course. Right? Scores on standardized tests can only be interpreted when the tests are given in exactly the same ways as they were to the norm or the comparison group or the other students. So standardized tests means everything is standardized. Okay, everything is standardized. Okay, the timing, the rules, okay, everything. And therefore, because everything is standardized, results could be compared. Right? So it is important to realize that all these we have 8 points about unethical testing practices. So it is number 2, it is not ethical for teachers to examine the content of standardized tests first, okay, to determine what is to be taught in their classrooms. To do so violates the principle that standardized tests are samples of behavior and not necessarily everything that a student should know at a particular grade level. Now, because students in the norm group, the comparison group, the norm group, were not exposed to such items prior to taking the test. So the teacher's classroom curriculum need not match test content perfectly. So you cannot, that is to say, teachers cannot teach for the test. Number 3, it is unethical for teachers to use standardized test items on their own examinations. This is called plagiarism. So such plagiarism is illegal and ruins the standardization procedures. And similarly, it is not ethical for teachers to use standardized test items as part of any instructional set of material. So it is important not to teach those test items. Number 4, it is improper for teachers to try to improve student performance by developing items that parallel to those on standardized tests. Nor is it acceptable for teachers to administer one form of an examination when the district is to administer a second form as a part of its testing program. Now, here, this is the notion of parallel test. If a teacher knows the test items in standardized tests, the teacher could actually create a parallel test. A parallel test, they are similar, okay, but they're not identical. Okay, not identical. But this is a measurement issue. So let's not be concerned with the psychometric properties of parallel tests. All right. Number 5, it is unethical to exclude some students from participation in let's say in Canada, the province-wide testing, which uses standardized tests, even though the teacher expects these students to do poorly. it is likely that the known group, like the comparison group, the reference group, okay, also was composed of students who were expected to do poorly on examinations. And nor should teachers attempt to eliminate an entire section of a class from taking such tests on the grounds that they are, quote unquote, low ability group. Now, the obvious exception is students who are so mentally disabled that they are in special classes and they are not part of the regular school program. That's the only exception. All right. Now, number 7, it is unethical to alter in any way the directions, time limits, and the scoring procedures of any standardized test, because doing that will not make the test standardized, right? Will not make the test standardized. All right. Now, this includes reading items aloud when the directions specify they are to be read by the student. All right. So, more example, it includes giving extra help by answering any question once the examination is in progress, unless specifically allowed in the test manual, and it further includes the insidious practice of a teacher standing over someone's shoulder and frowning when an item is missed. Okay, so that type of thing, it's kind of intimidating, is that right? To have a teacher standing right next to you for several minutes, okay, just watching what you do. So you don't like that. I don't like that either. Okay. All right. Now, the value of standardized tests is that they are given under standard or uniform conditions. And anything that violates those conditions makes the examination results more difficult or impossible to interpret, impossible to compare. All right, number 8, lastly, it is unethical to create anxiety and rivalry about standardized tests among students and between classes or between schools among schools. Okay, examinations are not contests and should not be treated as such. So these are the unethical testing practices, the 8 points here. Right? So as teachers, we should pay attention to this here, right? And so that to make standardized test kind of standardized, and therefore the results can be compared, and the results are genuine reflections of students' ability, of students' academic achievement. All right, good. Thank you.